Hi there, my name is Anne, and in this video I will be trying watercolors for the very first time. I mean, if you don't consider my childhood, in which I know I'm convinced everybody used those cheap paints that don't actually work that well, then yeah, this is my very first time using watercolors in my adulthood. Forget about my Inktober 52 challenge, I had no idea what I was doing there. I bought this set online when it was on sale. Like, I paid 36 euros for it and originally it was 52, so I thought, I've always wanted a set of watercolors, so this is a time and a perfect opportunity for it. This is a set from the Van Gogh paints by Royal Valence, and I don't care how you English people pronounce it. It's not Van Gogh or whatever you want to say, it's Van Gogh, okay? Like, that's the Dutch way of how to say it, so you're wrong. Anyhow, this set comes with 24 paints, a paintbrush in size 6, and this sponge thingy that, yeah, I haven't really used. As you can see, I filmed this after painting with it, and it's already dirty. Yeah, I didn't really think this through. I wasn't patient, so I immediately started painting and didn't realize, oh, I need a clean shot. I've done a lot of research for this video because honestly, I knew nothing about watercolors before this. And I know a bit more, not a lot, but a bit more. So I know that there are different kinds of watercolors. You can have half pans, which are these. You can get whole pans, which I think are just bigger pans of this. You can get tubes, liquid watercolors, watercolor pencils, and even sticks. But those last three are less common than the pans and the tubes. I only have this set, so that's what we're gonna use today. For the paper, I'm gonna be using this. It's by Hanemühle, I think it's pronounced. It's German, so I'm not that great at it. And it's a watercolor paper in 450 grams. And I also have a bigger size of the same Hanemühle paper in 250 grams, and I don't really know how to tell the size apart. Like, this is an A4, so it's like a little bit bigger than an A4, this one, and this is a little bit bigger than an A5. So yeah, don't really know how to describe the sizes of it. Oh, and it's a rough texture. And yeah, that's all I can say about the paper. So now that I've talked to you long enough without actually painting something, let's get right into it. So I just wanted to show my little setup before I began. I have two water containers, one for cleaning out my dirty brushes and the other one for taking clean water when I want to get a new color. I also have painter's tape for pressing my paper down on my desk, a spritz water bottle so that I can activate my paints very easily. I have tissue at hand for excess water, all my paintbrushes in a cute Baymax cup that I got from my sister, so thank you. My paper is in front of me and the set of paints is behind it, but I will move that quickly because the spot is horrible and I realized rather quickly that that placement isn't useful for my left-handedness. I started off by swatching my palette first so that I could actually get a feel of what the colors would look like, because before you touch them with water for the first time, they look nothing like their actual color, so I swatched them. I tried to make the swatches from full opacity to a more watered out swatch so that I could get a feel of the range for the paints. One thing you can notice immediately is that they dry differently from when they're wet. When they're wet, the colors are different than when they're dry. I'll put a comparison here. And you can't see the texture that it will leave behind on the paper when it dries out. Like, I mean those water stain thingies. I really liked swatching them because I got a feeling of how vibrant the colors are and to see them come to life after their dull appearance in the unused pans. So this in itself was really fun to do. After that, I tried messing around a little bit. I tried the wet on wet technique in which you wet the paper first, pick up some paint and drop it in the wet area, and you can like create cool swirls and stuff. Then I wanted to try the salt effect, in which you can use salt to create cool textures, I didn't know which salt to use because they always just say salt. Like, yeah, you have different kinds of salt. What do you mean? Which salt? So I tried it with both fine salt and like big sea salt. Now that I have my salt, I try to get the effect by laying down a color first and then dropping a few salt grains on it. But you will see when it dries, I didn't do this correctly, and come on, like, I thought this was going to be easy, but no, somehow I messed this up. How? You're supposed to get this cool effect of like snowflakes looking shapes on your watercolor, and I got dots. Freaking dots! We also have this very weird smoked salt in our house that looks brown. I swear it's salt. But the flavor is horrible, so we barely use it, so I thought maybe I could give it a shot and it could have a use. So I also tried it with that. And somehow that looks the best. I don't know how that happened. But I'm never going to use it because that smell is absolutely horrible. Like, it's rancid, it's awful. So after that, I tried something else. I have very old masking fluid, and you can use masking fluid by putting it on the paper and let it dry, and if you paint over it, then the paper beneath it will remain white, which is very useful in watercolors because you can't go from dark to light with these paints. So if you use the fluid, you can block out areas that you want to keep light or blocked off, for example, a background. But my masking fluid is a bit old, so I wanted to see if it still worked, and kinda. I mean, there are some streaks, but it's usable. I do suggest you only use a brush that you're willing to sacrifice. They say that you can use dish soap to make it work better with a brush. I tried using baby oil and that worked perfectly fine for me, so one of those two, I guess. And then I just fiddled around a lot, trying to get comfortable with the paints and trying to mix it to get more colors. And boy, am I an idiot. This is where color theory comes in handy. If you want purple, don't mix your blue and red. You'll get this thing. Like, what is this? Not purple? I was so confused as to why this wasn't working out. I mean, everybody knows red and blue makes purple. And I got this. Well, I forgot that that doesn't count in pigments. You need to pick the actual primary colors to get purple, aka magenta and cyan. Once I figured that out, my confidence was restored again in painting and I felt ready to start my first actual painting. And oh boy, was I nervous! I had sticked my paper down using washi tape to make it look all cute, but I will tell later why that wasn't a good idea. I was afraid I was gonna mess up if I tried doing something on my own for the first time, so I followed a tutorial by Ahmad Art. I'm so sorry if it's wrong. I felt stressed when painting this. Oh my god. In it, you use the wet on wet technique and paint the horizon first with a bright yellow/orange. Then the sky, you blend those two together, and so on and so on. But oh my god, I didn't want to mess up, and the sky was so difficult to get right. My sky looks nothing like his. But honestly, I don't care. I mean, I know that it isn't blended correctly and I didn't use enough pigment in it, but I like the look. They are very special clouds. And after I did some research, like after painting it, I found out that it turned out like this probably because I wasn't using enough water for the wet on wet technique. Like, it dried out too quickly, so the paint was already drying before I was done blending it. So that's why I got those streaks, I think. After I was done with the water, I was contemplating if I should wait fully to let the paint dry or if the half dry paper was enough to paint the mountains on. And oh god, you should wait. Definitely wait. You should absolutely wait until the paper is dry. I didn't realize with the mountains, but I did with the grass. But this kind of paper that I have isn't really suited for this. I mean, look at my first stroke of grass. It wouldn't build a straight line over the roughness of the paper. And that's when I started to research more about rough paper and cold or hot pressed paper, which I suggest you should do too if you want to make your paintings work better. I think cold pressed would have been better for this because it's more universally used. But anyway, I have these sheets of paper now and I'm going to use them, or else it's just a waste of money. And this is why the washi tape wasn't a good idea. It picked up some of the paper while I was trying to take it off, and it let a lot of water through. It constantly lifted up, but it's alright. So, what do you think of my first ever watercolor painting? I like it a lot. Because I wasn't entirely too happy with the sky, I wanted to try another one. I found another video by the same YouTuber of the previous one that I really liked, so I painted along with that one. This time I used painter's tape to keep it down on my desk, and that didn't rip up my paper, so yay! This was also a wet on wet design, and I don't know if it's my paper or the fact that I wetted the entire page at once, but once it was completely wet, it built up and had like a vacuum underneath my paper, and it happened also in the previous one, and I don't know how or why that happened. Can somebody tell me in the comments please, because I'm clueless on this one. But even with the bubble, I didn't let it stop me from trying to have fun and painting along. I realized while doing this one that I really shouldn't have stressed so much as I did on the previous painting. I took my time with each step and tried to enjoy myself a bit more. I just stayed calm, tried some things out, and if I didn't like them or they didn't really work, I would try to fix it. And if my layer dried before I was finished with it, just re-wet and continue. At the end, I waited until it had completely dried to create the stars. For this, I took some white gouache paint and watered it down so that I could get a more runny consistency. Then, with a flat brush, I speckled some stars on the page. It was my first time trying this. It was so fun, but a lot more difficult than I expected. I don't know, maybe I'm just dumb, but this didn't come so easily for me. Anyway, here is my finished piece. So, these are my two finished paintings that I've done so far. The second one did turn out better than the first one, I think personally, but talent comes with practice, so I hope I will get better eventually. I'm definitely going to keep practicing this and continue with watercolors. I actually want to create something a little bit bigger and something of my own so that I don't necessarily follow a tutorial. I also want to mention that the paintbrush that came with the set ended up being so useful. I mostly used this brush and then this brush to paint on the water. Not paint on, but like put the water on the paper, because this one, you could maybe see it while the video was playing, but this one is too soft. It has no real structure once you start painting with it. So this one was super useful because I mostly have smaller brushes. Like this is the biggest one except for the one I just showed, and the other ones are just flat brushes. So this was a lifesaver. And I want to say thank you to Ahmad Art. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. His step-by-step tutorials are very helpful and just fun to watch. I will leave his link down below, just as the videos that I followed along with and all the other videos I watched in preparation for this video. Also, I post all the art that I make on my Instagram and Twitter, most of the time earlier, so you get a preview. So if you want to follow me there, please do. I really liked doing this video, I had a lot of fun, and I hope you liked watching this. If you have any suggestions on how to become better at this, or if you saw me do something absolutely horrible or wrong and you just thought, what is she doing? Then please leave those comments down below, it would really help me. I'm gonna try and actually be better at this and like try to get more into it. So if you're interested in this, please consider subscribing. But that's all for now, so thanks again for watching and goodbye. The second one did turn out better than the first one, I think personally. Mijn god.